Hello, Savvies. Happy Tuesday. I hope that you are having an amazing day so far, getting lots of things done, having great conversations. I'm going to turn on my comments so I can see them. Hey, Amy. Hey, Sylvia. So glad that you're here with me. I have a question. I've got a good number of y'all live with me right away. I have a question to kick us off right away. Crazy, right? Okay, I want to ask you, what is holding you back from saying yes to starting your own virtual assistant business? Ooh, we're diving deep real quick. I'm not going to waste any time. We are here to take action. So I want you to tell me, what is holding you back from saying yes to starting your own virtual assistant business? Let me know in the chat while you're doing that. I hope that you have either a yummy beverage or a snack next to you, whether you're catching this while you're at your 9 to 5, no shame, or if you're catching this during a break, or if you're just listening, maybe you're even watching the replay. If you're watching the replay, please don't hesitate to tag me in the comments, tag our team, engage with us. I love when y'all interact with me during lives because it makes the live more fun, more interactive. And that's what we're here, is to encourage each other. Okay, nobody answered my question. Did I go too deep, too fast? What is holding you back from saying yes to starting your own virtual assistant business? Think on it. Let me know in the chat. I would love to hear. Nicole earns the gold star. Nicole, confidence to get clients. Girl, I totally hear you. Totally hear you. Juanita says, fear of not being able to get clients because I have no experience. Juanita, we don't have time to dive into this, but I would push back and I would say you have all the experience that you need to start your own virtual assistant business. Fear of failing. Fear with the start of funding, confidence to getting clients. Yay, already started your business. Don't leave, my dear. We've got a treat for you. Okay, so as you're continuing to drop comments in the chat, I encourage you to do that. Today, I have a special guest, Brianna. We're going to hear about her story in getting started. And just like the title says, she was able to have a full load of clients in just 1 year. And we're going to dive into how she did that. So those of you that dropped comments about getting clients, confidence in finding clients, fear of failing, I hope that you stick around for the entire live today to learn more from Brianna and hear more about her story. Before I bring her up, though, I did want to share something super exciting with you. We have a free training coming up. It's not one day. It's not 2 days, y'all. It's 3 days of training. So let me show this to you. This is our Ultimate Virtual Assistant Summer Crash Course. It's 3 days where Abby and I are going to dive deep inside of some of those key decisions that you need to make in getting your business started, whether it's the services that you're going to offer, your pricing, your packages. We are going to get all of that done in 3 days. By the end of the third day, you will actually be ready to launch your virtual assistant business. So if you have not signed up for our challenge yet, you can do that at thevirtualsavvy.com/challenge. You're going to register for all 3 days. We will send you reminders. We will send you replays. Yes, every day is recorded. We will send you those replays. So I hope that you can join us and be ready to take action and make some of those key decisions in starting your own virtual assistant business. All right, so without further ado, let me take this down and I will leave that link up for just a second so y'all can grab it. But here is my lovely guest, Brianna. Thanks for joining us today. Where are you joining from?
I am in Northeast Missouri, nice and hot today.
Nice and hot today. For sure. I'm not too far from you. I didn't ask this. I know where you are in the state. What are we, like 4 hours from each other? Maybe longer?
Roughly. Kind of opposite corners.
Yeah, well, high five. It's not Missouri. It's just Missouri, y'all. It's just Missouri. So glad that you're here, Brianna. Okay, let's just dive right in. Let us learn a little bit about you. Tell us about your family. We know where you're at. Tell us a little bit about the fun things that y'all like to do. We want to get to know you before we dive into your virtual assistant story.
Absolutely. Well, I'm a wife, mom to 4. I have 2 teenage bonus daughters, 2 little boys, and I'm a dog mom. I love to be outside with my kids. You will find us dancing in the rain or playing in mud puddles. I am not too old for that. I don't think I will ever be too old for that. Nerdy stuff. I like to craft and decorative plan, and that kind of goes along with my business. But that's just a little bit about me and what I like to do for fun.
I love it. Okay, mom of 4. Okay, so how many of you are parents? Shout out in the chat. Parenting during these summer months can be oh so fun and oh so challenging. I totally understand that. I love a good schedule. I love structure. And summer just kind of blows that out of the water a little bit with 3 kids of my own, all of those things. Yes, I was actually listening to a podcast. I won't go into detail, but I was actually listening to a podcast this morning on my way to drop my youngest off at summer day camp, all about the challenges of caring for others, whether it's you're parenting small children or you're caring for elderly parents. There is an energy exhaustion, a use of that is very, very important to recognize, and also important to take care of yourself too. So being a parent, caring for others is not necessarily an easy task. And while building your own business. So Brianna, I love that you said too, like, I'm not too old to play in the rain and get dirty in the mud puddles. I think that that's beautiful. I took my niece to get some ice cream the other day, and it was warm in Missouri, right? And it just melted. I mean, I don't even know if it was ever solid ice cream at one point. But I was looking at her. I'm like, this is what it's about. Like, let's get sticky. Let's eat an ice cream cone. Let's make a mess. We can clean it up. It'll be okay. Memories are being made. So I love that. Okay, Brianna, tell me, what did life look like before you started your virtual assistant business? How long have you had your business? And then what did it look like before?
I officially launched in May of 2024. But before that, I was still extremely busy just doing different things, having a 9-to-5. I was also an officer in the military, so I had my guard duty that I had to do, and I was getting my master's degree. And all of this was also obviously throughout COVID. So essentially, I got out of the military, I got my master's degree, and then I had just my full-time job, and I was just looking for something more, but something that I could choose, I could control, and doing things that I loved doing. So.
So many good nuggets. First of all, thank you for your service. I so appreciate that. Second, lots of things on your plate, right? Full-time job. Oh my goodness, going back to school, getting masters. Curious, what was your full-time job before becoming a virtual assistant?
Well, I did both. I was a post-award project manager, so I worked with grants at a higher education. So.
Okay. Awesome.
Still not administrative stuff.
Awesome. Okay. So that's important for context in story, right? So what I would love to hear from y'all hanging out with us. What is your current career? Are you working a 9-to-5? What job do you have? If you're not currently working, what do you have experience? Like, I think that's important just to see who everybody is in context here together. I was a teacher before I became a virtual assistant. In between being a teacher, I became a stay-at-home mom, then started my own business. And there's absolutely transferable skills. So back to Juanita's comment, not having the skills or experience, we all bring something unique to the table, no matter what we've been involved in. Even, diving into being a stay-at-home parent, the skills that are involved inside of that absolutely are transferable into a virtual assistant business. It's just thinking outside the box and really looking at the nitty-gritty things that you're doing in no matter what position that you're in. Okay, what do we have? Oh, insurance sales agent, healthcare manager, executive assistant, travel coordinator, customer service specialist. Yeah, super cool. Okay, so needed something different. How many of you have all been there? Needing something that was your own, where you could make the choices. And here comes virtual assistants. And that's one of the amazing things about virtual assistants, right, y'all, is that you get to make the choices. You get to make the choices on your services, what you do, who you serve, who you work with, how much you're going to make, what are you going to charge, where you work, how you work. You are completely autonomous and get to make all those choices. That's super cool with virtual assistants. So, Brianna, where and how did virtual assistants come into your world? I want to know that.
Yes, well, I felt like I had too much free time, which I think about, that's just hilarious now. But
Mm-hmm.
um, I was constantly helping people doing VA type work. I just didn't know that that's what I was doing. So my
Mm-hmm.
husband has his own trucking business. He's an owner operator. So obviously there's a lot of background with that. And I jumped in. I loved helping him do all that stuff. Obviously, I can't drive a semi. I don't know how to fix a semi. So I just took everything else off his plate. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
and just doing that and helping other people, I was doing all of it for free. But when I went to look into how to use my free time to kind of better my family, make some money, I realized that the stuff I was doing was being a virtual assistant. I just didn't know that.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's so good. And something really key. This is my favorite thing about these lives. I told Brianna this before we jumped on. There's gold nuggets that come in to these conversations we don't ever expect, but I love capturing them. So you said something that about your husband. He's the owner operator, truck driver business.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not your zone of genius to jump into the driver's seat and take the wheel literally and drive the truck. But you do have expertise and skills and abilities to support him. And that's what we do as virtual assistants. We come into somebody else's business where they have a particular zone of genius, and we could just exhaustive list anybody, right? And we come in with our zone of genius to support them, whether it be in admin or social media, creative, writing, travel booking, you fill in the blank, right? We come in as experts, as specialists, as experienced individuals to support them inside of their business. And I know I use those words loosely, like expert, experienced, specialists, because we need to claim that identity of I just need to know a little bit more than they do to take it off their plate. And by a little bit, I mean like 10% more, like just a little bit more, because they are not experts in XYZ. I would venture to guess, Brianna, that your husband is not an expert in all of the admin tasks that are on his plate. Is that correct?
That's correct.
That's correct, right? But you are. So handing those off. And that's what we get to do and be as virtual assistants. Okay, so you were already doing the thing. You didn't know that it was called that. When did the virtual savvy come into your world? What did that look like? How'd that happen?
That was Googling, which I'm sure a lot of people can do, either work from home, or I knew specifically that I liked the admin side of everything, but being in the background. And just through Google searches, I kept seeing Abby's face and the virtual savvy. And I was like, what is that? So then I dove deep, and it's like when the little light bulb comes on in cartoons or something. It was one of those moments for sure.
Oh, I love that. Okay. Engagement time, y'all. Tell me in the chat, how did you find the virtual savvy? Was it a Google search? Was it social media? Was it YouTube? I'm just curious. Let me know in the chat. That's always helpful information for us too, to know where y'all are coming from. How did you find us back in the day? So I found the virtual savvy in 2017. I was a stay-at-home mom of 2 at the time. We didn't have our third one yet. And somebody told me the term virtual assistant. And I'm like, ooh, what is that? I mean, I had Googled legit work from home opportunities in the past. That was pre-pandemic, right? Like several years before. And so finding work from home wasn't necessarily a huge thing back then. And so I Googled that, but then when I looked up virtual assistants, the Virtual Savvy popped up in Pinterest, and I had a Pinterest board like you wouldn't believe of virtual assistant things. Okay, I got to see all these because I see comments coming through my vision. YouTube, Facebook, Google search, YouTube, social media. Awesome. And what were you searching? Like, did you know the term virtual assistant, or were you typing and looking for something else? Just super curious. Okay, so Brianna, you were already kind of doing the thing. You found the Virtual Savvy. Did you join Savvy System or other membership Savvy Vault right away? What did that look like for you?
Yeah, so I started my business in May of 2024, but I just felt kind of lost on what to do. And then when I was searching for more information, and I found the Savvy System. So I did join the Savvy System, and I was actually mad because I wish I would have started it sooner. All of the wasted hours that I spent trying to know what the next step was, know what I needed, is just all laid out in the Savvy System.
Yeah.
And then in August, I added the Savvy Vault. So I did both.
Oh, perfect. Okay, so for those of you who may not know much about us at the Virtual Savvy and our products, let me quickly give you a quick description. So Savvy System is our signature course. It has over 130 lessons, and we teach you how to launch, grow, and scale your own virtual assistant business from scratch. You have a community, you have exclusive job ops, you have a monthly call where you can come and ask questions. It really is the business side of things. And then we have a membership, which is separate. It's called Savvy Vault. That's our growth membership. We have over 60 courses on tech platforms and or specialized services. We have weekly calls inside of Savvy Vault. We have new content that drops every month. And that's something separate. Both different, but both work so well together. So if you are interested in learning more, you can always reach out to our team and we can help you decide which product may be the best option for you. So dove into the products, my dear. What were some of the early frustrations or difficulties that you had when you first started?
Started the system or started my business?
Your business. Let's look at that specifically.
Well, just getting everything set up. I think knowing what I needed to set up, and then how to get out there, either letting people know in general what a virtual assistant was or how to get clients. That was the biggest frustrations at the beginning. The Savvy System definitely has almost like a checklist step by step of how to answer all of those questions. So that was nice.
Okay, so because you were already doing the things and then you kind of learned what you were doing, when would you say you got your first official client? Would you consider the first one working with your husband your first client, or would you consider a future client your first client?
I would say my first client was in August of 2024. So I started, kind of fumbled around on my own, and then with both of the systems, then it was like, right, immediately. I got my first client in August, another smaller client after that, and then was kind of not in limbo, but definitely still have those two small clients, and then kind of coasted for a little bit before I hit my next speed bump.
Yeah. Okay. So let's stop for a minute on the getting a client, because I know that kind of came up for a lot of people inside of the chat. What are some tips or tricks? Because now, fast forward, you have a full client load. Okay. But even back then, what were some things, or what are some things that you did that worked really well in that process of looking for clients, reaching out to clients, chatting with clients? I would love to hear more about that. And I'm sure those hanging out would too as well.
Absolutely. The biggest thing is definitely relationships. So starting
Mhm.
out, you might not have the specific virtual assistant community, but you still have friends, you still have family, you still know business owners. So just getting out there and letting people know what you're doing, that's how I got my first client. Family members were extremely supportive. They were sharing my Facebook posts like, "Hey, Brianna's awesome and she's doing this." And then I had someone that I've never met reach out and say, "Hey, my friend on Facebook shared this and I need help." And then that was my first client.
I love that. Okay, several gold nuggets. First, just talk about your business in everyday conversation. I was actually attending my own coaching call yesterday, and we were talking about just that and paying attention to the opportunities that are right in front of us to talk about what we're doing, and not in a salesy, cheesy way, but just talking about our business and working with clients and what we're hoping to achieve and hoping to do. It's not like you are trying to sell to that person that you are talking to. It's just talking about your business, and opportunities will absolutely come from that. Every single time, no, but every single time you talk about it, it flexes that muscle and makes it a little easier, and you become better at it, stronger, less intimidated to talk about it. So look for opportunities in your everyday conversation to talk about your business. One example I like to share is I was at the salon and I was leaning back. I'm not kidding. I was leaning back. She was rinsing my hair. And we were talking about my virtual assistant business. By the end of that appointment, I had booked her for services because she's like, "Oh my goodness, I totally need help in this particular area of my business. Can you do that?" And so I got a client. Does that always happen? No, but conversations can lead to other conversations. And I love, Brianna, that you use the word relationships. I like to say connections that you make today can change your business tomorrow. You don't know what that conversation, that general mention of your business, what kind of synapses in their brain is being connected and logged away. But it's so important to build those connections and those relationships. I love, love, love that you brought that up. Y'all, as we're talking, if you have questions, don't hesitate to drop them in the comments. We're going to have some Q&A near the end. But as we're talking, if you have questions related to what you hear in Brianna's story, or maybe something that I mentioned, please drop your questions and we would love to answer those as well. So you got your first client in August of 2024. That's almost a year ago. And now you have a full client list. Now, a full client list for everybody is going to look different. Again, another beautiful thing about virtual assistants is that you can do it as little as you want or as much as you want. You can have no team, just be yourself, or you can have a full load of team and subcontractors. It really is up to you on what that looks like. So what does that look like for you, Brianna? And tell us a little bit about that journey of getting to that point.
Yeah, so up until this point, it's just been me. Decided from the beginning how many hours I wanted to devote to client work. So that is my threshold of my load is full. I have 4 amazing clients. I cannot take on any more. One of them is a very big client that we are hoping to expand on, and I have a couple smaller clients. So now my goal is to scale, looking into hiring a subcontractor and seeing if I can grow without being the only focal point in my business, but also started out hourly. So that is how I had my cap of I can't take on any more, and also looking to shift to more service-based packages. So not having to track the daily hours, but still getting the work done, and just looking at the different ways to scale right now, because yes, I have a very full load.
Yay! Congratulations. That's so exciting. Okay. Let's stop here again for a minute or two. Let's dive in. So first of all, you decided from the very beginning what you were able to do. If I asked y'all in the comments, could you answer that question for me? How much can you give to your virtual assistant business right now? And what would full look like? Do you know the answer to both of those? Let me know in the comments, because that's really important to look at. In fact, that's one of the activities that we're going to do on day 1 of the challenge. Let me put that link up there for just a second. I can put that up there again. On day 1, we're going to look at your calendar and we're going to assess how much time do you have to give to your business, because that's important to know right now, because depending on what you have going on, are you working a full-time job? Are you not working a full-time job? Do you have a schedule that's dependent on shuffling your kids to and from? Where are the pockets of time? It's important to understand how much time you have to give to your business right now, but also, what does full-time look like? Where do you think you want to go, right? For me, when I started very small. Like, I had 2 littles at home. I didn't want any more than 10 hours a week. That was my max, because I was going to work during nap time and I was going to work post bedtime. And so that was where I wanted to start. Well, as I dug in and as I started working with clients, I realized, ooh, I really love this. I think I want to do more. So then I looked at what would it look like to expand and offer more services, or do more hours. What would that look like? So 20 hours a week, 30 hours a week, 20, 40. Awesome. That is such a key decision right from the beginning. Now, can you change that? Yes, you can. Brianna can say, I want to grow a really large team later on. But right now, that's not necessarily the goal and intention. We're looking at scaling and what does that look like? You can change your mind later on, but having a framework to get started is super key. And like I said, we're going to dive into that on day 1 next week on Tuesday, and look at the different things you want to think through when looking at your schedule and how much time you can give to your business. So Brianna has 4 clients, one of them being pretty large and the other 3 being a little bit smaller. Brianna, a question that I didn't put on my list, but I'm super curious. A lot of people will come to us and say, well, what does it look like to manage multiple clients? How am I going to be able to juggle multiple clients? What does that look like? What are some tips and tricks that you have when it comes to that?
I am a big time blocker, but not to the minute, especially with having so many kids. Nothing will always go to plan, 100% to plan. So I have the time that I need to give per client. The bigger the client, the more priority they have. So I know from the beginning of my week what I need to get done and when I plan to do it. And I always expand that longer than what I need. So if I know that I need 2 hours of general admin stuff done for a smaller client, I'll block 3.5 hours on my calendar. So I know that in that time, I'm only working on this client, and I don't mingle. So if I'm working on one client, I'm not doing anything else for anyone else. So I know that my focus is there, my time is there, and I'm giving them the value that they're paying for.
Also, context. Are you clocking hours for all of your clients right now? Okay. So still clocking time. That's important too. We recommend here at the Virtual Savvy that at least at the very beginning that you consider clocking your time so that you have a really good context of how long things are going to take you. Does that mean you have to permanently stay on tracking time? No, but it is something that we recommend for most services when you get started. I would say the large majority of virtual assistants who start in the bucket of some type of general service. Not everybody, but a large majority of them do. And so starting at an hourly can be good foundation to build, but looking towards, is there a possibility to go flat rate, which is kind of where you're going, right? Brianna is not trading time for money anymore. We're going to possibly shift that and trade value for money in the long run. Have you made a plan for that yet? I'm just curious myself.
Yes, and I've already notified my clients of that plan, and everyone is very excited for it. I also recommend the tracking the time, not just because you need to know how much time you're giving a client, but because you get better at things over time. So I can do 5 times more things in the same time that I was doing when I first started with a client. And because I'm very proactive, I'm very communicative. They know this. They know that they're not losing anything by me not tracking my time. So we're all very excited.
Oh, so many things. Oh, so many things. Okay, so first of all, you said you've already notified your clients. Did y'all catch this? She already notified her clients and they're all excited about the change. I think that's really important to recognize in this moment, because I know even for me, when I was approaching that time of making that switch, I started clocking my time. I absolutely hated it. I had 2 little ones. So if somebody fell or somebody needed a snack or somebody just needed redirection, and it wasn't nap time, then I would have to stop my clock and go do that and come back. And then I would forget to start my clock or whatever. Or what Brianna brought up, which is so key, is you get better at what you're already good at. So why get penalized for that? And so getting away from tracking hourly and moving into a package rate can be to your benefit for that reason. Now, also caveat, that may not be the best model for your business, and that's okay. That's okay. I just, looking at it from big picture, I always want you to consider that option when looking at that growth and scale lever to pull in your business. But her clients were excited. I remember the same thing. When I let them know that they were doing that, I turned it and flipped it on the benefit for them. They won't have to know about or worry about the time being filled or not filled. They won't have to come up with more tasks. They'll know exactly what's going to be delivered and how they're going to be supported for XYZ. And it worked out beautifully. And they were all very, very excited. Super cool. Brianna, do you have any subcontractors? Did you tell us that yet or not?
Not yet. That is my next step, is to get a little more help with the general admin type tasks, because I have found that I thrive and enjoy more of the executive operations system strategy side of it.
Oh, that was a mix of 2 words. What I wanted was when. When did that come forward for you, recognizing that you liked more of these tasks or services better?
Over time, through working with clients. So it was something I kind of always knew in the background, but until I had the clients and was doing the work, that was when I knew for sure. And I even had one client from the beginning, because I've always been very open about how I want to scale to, the operation side, the system strategy side. And I had one client from the beginning. He said, I want that now. Can you do that now? So we've actually been working from the beginning, kind of getting off of that general admin side, more to the strategy operations side. But I think it's something I always knew about myself, but I wanted to work with clients, start general, start hourly tracking, and just see where it went from there.
So good. And that's what we recommend, is that when you're getting started, you look at what you can offer right now. So tell me this in the chat. If I were to come to you and say, Chelsea, Genevieve, Vanessa, Esmeralda, Debbie, everybody else, those are the names I saw right away. I want to hire you yesterday. What services can you offer me? Do you know the answer to that? These are services that you know how to do, that you could figure out very quickly. What would it be? For me, it would not be website design. That would not be listed as my top service. I have no idea how to do that. Do I know I could charge a pretty penny for it? Sure. But that's not my zone of genius. My zone of genius, customer service, email management, calendar management, travel booking. Those are things that I could start with right now. Do you know those services? Those are the services you start with. and get clients, get the ball rolling, get some yeses, right? And then allow yourself to follow the path of clarity of what services do you keep offering? What new services do you learn? What new services do you want to add to or take away? Any of the above. You will organically, I promise, figure that out if you just allow yourself to organically follow that journey. I did the same thing. I started with social media. I did not offer social media very long. I realized, nope, this is not something I want to do long term. That's for somebody else. And some of y'all, that is your zone of genius, and I will gladly hand it to you. Right? So recognizing what you love doing. We're building a business doing things that we love, not things that we dread or don't give us energy. Start with what you can do now and allow yourself to grow into those packages. And I saw a couple more questions about making the switch. We'll dive more into that in Q&A for sure, because I want to make sure that you get some more questions answered. If you have specific questions around that, let us know in the chat. Brianna, I do want to ask this. So what are some things for people to consider when they're in this phase of their business? Because some people have already launched their business, they're working with clients, or maybe they're looking for clients. What are some of the key things that were helpful or successful for you in looking for clients and landing the clients?
In terms of?
Yeah. So in looking for clients, where did you find your clients? How did you decide to move forward with reaching out for them? Were they job ops? Were they through conversations? Were they through networking events? Where did you find clients? What was successful for you? And then in the process of talking to them, what was successful for you in getting the yes, they want to work with you? Does that make sense? Does that help?
Yes. So in getting the clients, I would say there was 3 routes. My very first longest standing small client came to me from my family and friends, helping me out, sharing my post, letting them know. So someone just happened to see it and happened to want help. One of them was a job op, but it's actually an interesting story because it was a job op in 2024. We had a discovery call. It was great. And then she decided she needed in-person help. And it kind of just stayed there for a while. And then a few months ago, she reached out and said, okay, I have my in-person help, but I just know that you can help me with all of this other stuff. And then within 2 days, she was another signed client. And then the third one was, how did that one happen? I'm trying to think. That one was a referral. So just being in a community, having accountability, talking with people, going to the coaching calls. People learned more about me, what my skills were. And then when someone came to them looking for a virtual assistant, I was recommended. And then just knocked it out of the park after that.
Oh, I love that. Talking to the people you know, we've already covered that. Showing up and showing value to the client and not dismissing them. Now, you didn't necessarily do anything for them to circle back, but I wouldn't doubt at all that when you talked to that client, you showed value, you made an impression on them, so much so that they circled back. I encourage our virtual assistants in the follow-up process, if you feel super connected to the business owner, to maybe the services, that even if you don't hear from them or you hear a no, if that connection was so strong, log it away and save it. Don't dismiss it. Circle back in a month or two and say, hey, just wanted to check in. How are things going? Is there anything I can support you with? I have seen more clients come from that than just not following up at all. And so I love that she circled back, because that will happen. Connections you make today can change your business tomorrow. You don't know what that's going to look like down the line. So good. Okay. Brianna, I don't know if I actually asked you this at the beginning of our conversation. How has your why you started virtual assistants, how has that shifted or changed for you over the past year?
Yeah, so I would definitely say my why at the beginning was to use the time, the skills, and I guess I'd say the location. I don't know if you can see behind me, but
Mm.
when COVID started, I started working from home from my 9 to 5, and my husband actually built me my own office. So I had the
Mm.
space, I had the time, I had the skills. So I was just looking for a way to, just bring in a little extra money, do something for me, do something fun. And now it has evolved to, it's still focused around my family and my kids, but now it's more, I want to give them the memories, the happy
Mm.
memories of their childhood, because I know everyone can probably relate to at some point in their life, like financial pressure, stress, all of that stuff. So I want to focus on using what I can do with my skills and my business to then give back to my kids. Okay, we're going to take a week off and we're going to go do something fun. And it's not always
Mm.
money, but memories, the time, the freedom to make those decisions is kind of what I'm focusing on now. And then if it keeps growing and if it's something that my kids want to help out with when they get bigger, when they get older, that's great. But even if not, I'm very big on experiences and happy memories. And that's what I want to just flood their lives with. So that's what I know.
That is so beautiful. I love that so much. And I love the perspective of the memories aspect, right? Because I know even for myself, like if you were to ask me that, it's I want to be available for my kids. I want to be here. Yes, they're literally right outside the door. Brianna was like, well, before we jumped on, she's like, by the way, I can hear the music outside the office. Yeah, my office door is open, right? And I'm available to them. That's one of the reasons I love what I get to do. And then I close it when I need to close it. I go out to my office when I need to. What is your why? Like, let me know in the comments. Why are you exploring starting a virtual assistant business? Or why did you start a virtual assistant business? Was it a toxic work environment? Was it I just need something new? Was it I lost my job? I was laid off? I'm approaching retirement? Whatever it is, your why is exactly that. It's your why, it's nobody else's. And what's super cool is a year down the line, 2, 3, 4, 5 years down the line, it's going to look a little bit different. The basic concept of your why may not change. The premise, the foundation may still be the same, but it may shift and look different. My availability to my kids looks very different now than it did when I started because they weren't in school yet. They were at home. They were playing on the floor. Now I have 2 teenagers. And so it looks very different, but the concept, the foundation is still there. Amy says, spend more time with grandbabies. How many grandbabies, Amy? I love that. Freedom. Alice says, I want to spend more time with mom who has Alzheimer's. The VA business will give me an opportunity to be present when I need to. Extra income, necessity for being available for my kids and stress free. I love all of that. Here's something that I want to make sure that I premise, and I think I said this the last time that I was live last month. It's really easy to paint this amazing, beautiful picture of what owning a virtual assistant business is. You can make all the choices, do what you wish. You have that freedom, you have that flexibility. It can give you financial freedom, it can give you time with your kids, with your parents, with your pets, with yourself, whatever that looks like for you. But it would be amiss if I also wasn't honest that it's going to take grit. It's going to take hard work. You can purchase the Savvy system, all 130 plus lessons, and you can purchase it. But if you don't start with lesson 1 and go to lesson 2 and 3 and 4 and work the system, the business is not going to all of a sudden appear. I can buy a gym membership, but if I don't go to the gym and do the work, the weight or the body changes aren't just going to happen, right? I have to put in that work and whatever that means. So I want to make sure that I'm honest about that and not just paint a pretty picture of what it could look like, all of the things. Brianna, let's take some time for Q&A, but first, what is one piece of advice that you would give to those in the very early stages of their virtual assistant business where it might be a little bit more challenging?
Don't give up.
Hmm.
Kind of like you were saying, especially starting all of this with a 9 to 5, it definitely took dedication, determination. You have to set aside the time. You have to be willing to do it. You have to be willing to stay up a little bit later after your kids go to bed, or try to get as much done as you can during nap time, or carve out the time because it's important to you and you need to do it. But it will get hard. Definitely had stressful days. It's not all pretty pictures. So don't give up, though. If it's something you love, you enjoy, you thrive in it, just don't give up.
Oh, so good. For those of you facing fears, for those of you worried or unclear or don't know how to find clients, keep moving forward. Learn a little and do a little. Learn something new. I hope that you're learning something new today, and then go try it. Go practice it. It's so important to keep moving forward. There will be those roadblocks. There will be those hurdles that you have to put in the effort to get over. But I promise you, when you apply yourself, when you show up, you will be rewarded on the other end for sure. Okay, let's dive into some questions. Let me scroll back up. Oh, we had so many great comments. Chelsea, let us know in the comments. Did you have any more questions about managing multiple clients? Brianna gave us some really, really good tips. Time blocking per client. It was always something that worked well for me. Like if I'm going to be working on Stacy's work, I'm going to focus on Stacy's work for an hour, especially if you're still clocking time. That time blocking will make a huge difference, because imagine if you are working with 3 different clients and you don't time block during that hour. You could go from Stacy to Brianna to Abby, and then back to Stacy, and it could get real messy real quick. So time blocking is always a great technique. Another technique that I loved to use when I worked with multiple clients as an executive VA was to have a different Chrome, is it called workspace or window, for each client, right? And then I would save all of their typical bookmarks. So I would go to Stacy's Chrome window and it would have all of her things opened. It also kind of helped with the time blocking, right? Like it kept my focus on Stacy. And then I would have a different window for Brianna's, and I would have all of Brianna's tabs open. And it really helped kind of draw that boundary line between clients. And that helped me as well. Any other tips come to mind, Brianna?
Just kind of along the different Chrome profile things is, just keeping everything separate. When you're working on it, what you have open on your computer, what you have open on your phone, even if it's just a different bookmarked folder with the client name, business, and you're only in that folder. You just have to keep it separate. Would be my biggest tip.
Yeah, keep it separate. I love that. Vanessa asks, if I'm focusing on customer service, which specific services should I offer? I plan on answering emails. What else can I do? Great question, Vanessa. I think customer service is probably top 3, if I could just randomly pick, definitely top 5 services that clients are looking for because of the time that it takes, as well as the emotional intelligence behind it, right? Like there's a certain way that you respond back to clients, in a respectful way, in an understanding way, in an empathetic way, also in a stern way when needed. Answering emails is a great customer service offer. There is like onboarding clients that you can do. I know that I supported one of my business coaches in onboarding her clients, sending contracts, making sure they had access to all of the places they needed access to. Customer service could be accounts related. We have Emily on our team as an employee, and that's her job. Like, she is the one that you go to if you have any questions about your payments or your account, and she handles all of that information. So that can be a direction that you could go. Course access, if you're working with a course creator, you can offer phone support. There's a few nuances and logistics that you'd have to work out, but if that's something that you love to do, that absolutely could be an option for you as well. Brianna, any other customer service ones that you can think of off the top of your head?
My biggest ones are just emails. I was going to mention you can do phone calls, like creating a Google Voice number or something, but I personally am not a fan of making phone calls, so I tone off for that.
Yeah, same. That's not my jam. So that was not, and also the timing of that just would not work for me either. Esmeralda, when you make the switch, so making the switch from hourly to package, what does that look like? Is it a set amount for dollar for tasks? Brianna, I'm going to have you kick this one off, and then I'll follow you. What did your package building process look like? Were you strictly looking at the tasks? How did you roll that out for your clients?
Yes, so I focus more on the tasks. Working with my clients, I know kind of what they need, what they're looking for, and I did it based on not just the hourly time that it would take, but like the mental capacity that it takes. So if it's something as easy as I just need to respond to these emails with templated emails and make a flyer, that's in one of my lower flat rate packages. So that service of content management, email management is in a lower service. If you are a client that wants help managing your team and your full CRM management, that takes more time, takes a lot more knowledge of the business, how to work everything. So that is in a higher package and includes all of those lower tasks if they still want it, but they want more services, more access to me, then they're in a higher package.
Oh, so good. Okay, so I'm going to pull this next question up because it's in tandem, and I'm going to cover a few more things. So I totally agree. Looking at not just the tasks themselves, but looking at the brain power or the value behind those tasks is so important. And this is why I go back to our recommendation of starting with hourly so that you kind of have a good context of what this is going to look like. For me, when I was walking into new clients, okay, I would always make sure that I got all the information. How many inboxes am I managing? How many emails typically come through those inboxes a day? How many clients are you onboarding in a typical month time frame to give me conceptually what I'm dealing with? And then I actually use the hourly rate. Okay, as an executive virtual assistant, I was around $45 an hour to the time that it's going to take me to support in that capacity. And then, just like Brianna said with her time blocking, she cushions it a little bit, right? Because I never want to get trapped in a situation where I'm not getting compensated for what I'm doing, or it's taking more time than I realize. And so looking at what am I delivering? What are my deliverables? And do I have all of the specifics to be able to put something together? Now, again, that model isn't going to work for everyone, and that's okay. I just want to kind of paint a picture of what it looks like. So I worked with online business coaches. I was their executive assistant, and I would package email management, calendar management, appointment scheduling, customer service, client onboarding with the understanding of what their volume looked like. I would flat rate that, and then it would cover for the entire month. And I never got to the point where I felt I wasn't being compensated fairly. If extra things came up, then we had extra fee conversation on top of that. And the question about specialize your services, specifically social media, I wanted to address this because social media is one of the easiest ones to package because you can get real nitty gritty on what you're delivering. How many posts, how many platforms, are you creating the copy? Are you creating the image? All of those elements play into the value that you're bringing to the table. And when you're looking at creating a package rate versus an hourly rate, getting nitty gritty and specific on those deliverables is so important. Imagine if you had a social media package, flat rate, $500 a month. I will provide Facebook post services for $500 a month. Great. They sign the contract. I need 5 posts created every single day. I need you to create the copy. I need you to create the images. Like, whoa, that's not what I imagined this to be. Okay. But if you got nitty gritty on that before, I will provide Facebook social media services. I will do 5 posts a day. I'll create the copy. I'll create the images. It's not going to be $500 a month. It's going to be much different than that. Does that make sense? I hope that that's helpful and gives some context to that. What do we got? Oh, we got 5 more minutes. Brianna, are you good to hang out with me for 5 more minutes to answer more questions?
Absolutely.
Yay. Oh, I love this question. Brianna, I would love to hear what you do for time off. How do you let your clients know that you're taking a day or a week off? What does that look like?
So long term, I plan everything for our family as far in advance as I can. So long term, I let them know through whether we have a weekly meeting or an email. So if it's something that's planned well in advance, they know well in advance. So there's absolutely no surprises. If it's something that comes up a little shorter, like within a month for me, I will email them and tell them in our next meeting. And then if it's something like a kid is sick or anything like that, then we have our contingency plans of what's our preferred communication for very quick things, whether that's a Google chat or WhatsApp, whatever the preference is with each client is how I would notify them of the very last minute things. But anything that I know in advance, they know in advance. And if it's anything within less than 2 weeks, then I make sure that there's a face-to-face conversation. Or if it's something like a last minute kid sick, then it's a quick message so they know immediately.
Yeah. Oh, that's so good. So I actually went through maternity leave when I was in the thick of growing my business. And so just like Brianna said, I knew that that was coming up. So we made a plan for it. And in fact, we made such a detailed plan that I got paid from my clients while on maternity leave because of the way that I had batched ahead and the way that we kind of built out my package, so that I got paid, not the full package amount, right? But I got at least something coming in during that time that I was taking maternity leave. But communication, communication, communication. And it really is going to also depend on what that communication looks like on what your services are. If you're offering a very concierge, white glove, one-on-one type of service, like you're their right-hand person, that communication is going to have to be a little bit stronger. If you're providing graphic creation where you're just providing graphics for social media, that level of communication is going to look a whole lot different than if you're providing a more high touch type of offer. So taking that into consideration as well is super important. Great question, Sarah, about letting your client know what your work schedule is. That is completely up to you on whether or not you divulge that information. It is not required. It is not necessary. As a contractor, you don't need to do that. With my level of services, and Brianna, I would love to hear from you too. Like, I let them know my typical working hours. Like, I'm available to reach me during this time frame and these days, and I left it very loose. I didn't say I work this time. I also gave them a turnaround time expectation for responses back so that they just had a good understanding and expectation of what that looks like. But you are not required to tell your clients anything about your time frame, when you work, or anything like that. Brianna, how do you handle that?
Yeah, this was a very big point for me at the beginning too, especially working 9 to 5. I focused more on response times. So I
Mhm.
will respond if you
Mhm.
email me, let me know there's something to do within 72 hours. But then I also had a weekly email. So every Monday, my client knew exactly what I did for the past week, exactly how many hours were used, what my priorities were. So I think just communication and making sure your client knows what you're doing. And then there's really no questions. They know what you're doing and how much time it's taking you, and you go from there.
So good. And Sarah, along those same lines, I never gave my personal cell phone number. That was just a boundary line that I kept. There are lots of different options for communication platforms like Slack or Voxer. Some people use WhatsApp. Some people use Google Voice. So you don't have to give your personal cell phone number or personal home if you still use that. Like, that's just not a boundary that I wanted to cross, and so I kept that very strong. You do not have to. You get to make the choices on how you communicate with your clients. You are the business owner, and when we make that mindset shift of employee versus contractor, it changes the whole game on what this looks like. Not saying that being an employee status is bad or negative, but when we're looking at starting our own business and being in charge of our business, it's important to recognize what we're able to do. Somebody asked about a replay. Yes, there is a replay available. You can come and revisit this. You can even ask questions, and either myself or our team will come back and answer those questions if you have any. But before I let you go, don't forget our challenge. Some of you were expressing that fear, that concern, that question about how do I find clients? Where do I find them? On day 3 of our challenge, which will happen on Thursday at noon, yay, balloons, we will talk all about marketing. So sign up for that challenge. Come show up live with us Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, 12 p.m. Central, and we're going to dive into some really key decisions to help you get the ball rolling for your virtual assistant business. Thank you so much for joining us live today. I hope that you are taking something away. I encourage you to type that out in the comments. What was most helpful for you today? It allows you to walk away with that decision in the chat. So I encourage you to do that. Brianna, thank you so much for joining me today and sharing your story. You are doing amazing things inside of your business, and you aren't done yet. I can't wait to see how your journey continues to unfold. Thanks, y'all, for being here. We'll see you later. You're welcome. Bye-bye.